Good morning. Welcome to this event organized under BioVoices, Horizon 2020 project funded by the European Commission. I'm Chiara Pocaterra from APRE, Agency for the Promotion of European Research. I'm located in Rome. Today I'm in the office. Here with me today two colleagues of mine, Matteo Sabini and Flavia Lacolla, and also Susanna Albertini from FVE, my partner, and the person that together with me prepared, produced the book, and together with a big team that we will present in few minutes. I would like immediately to give my regards and really thank all the participants in this event, the speakers. So first of all, Mr. Varijn, Peter Varijn, Head of Unit for the Bioeconomy and Food System in Directorate General Research and Innovation in the European Commission. Luisa Marelli, Deputy Head of Unit in the Joy Research Center in ISPRA in Bioeconomy. Maria Teresa Borzacchiello, also working in the team of the JRC in the Joy Research Center in ISPRA in the Bioeconomy. And Nelo Emerencia, Director Programming at Bio-Based Industry Consortium. And the special guest, we have with us also Mr. Patterman, Christian Patterman, that since January 2004 was Program Director for Biotechnology, Agriculture and Food in the European Commission. In August 2007, Mr. Patterman retired, but we work always with him because it's let's say, the father of the bioeconomy and the bioeconomy strategy born thanks to all his activities. So I'm really happy that he's joining us today. First of all, I would like to introduce a pre-recorded video from the first Vice President of the European Parliament, since the European Parliament gave the patronage for this event today. And so I would like to ask for this video. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to address you at the BioVoices Book for Kids. I have always talked about how important it is to speak to children about our common challenge to protect our environment in a language that they understand. The technicalities aside, protecting our environment is something that we will bequeath to the next generation. That's our duty to them. So I am all the more enthusiastic to support this effort. Within the last year, the COVID-19 pandemic has been the issue on everybody's mind. This pandemic has threatened our very livelihoods and affected our lives in ways we will speak about for generations. Now, as the European Union has adopted an ambitious economic recovery plan and rollout of vaccines has started, if this pandemic has taught us one thing, it is that we can only face these challenges together. We are not there yet, but we are on the right path. As we hope to turn the corner and move out of the immediate health crisis, we can focus on how to rebuild our economies and societies. Returning to the old normal is simply not good enough. We cannot put aside the other ongoing crisis on our doorstep, a crisis that also shows symptoms: rising temperatures and water levels, changing environments, decreasing air quality, the extinction of ecosystems and reduction in biodiversity, to name but a few. In a few years, if we do not change course, we will have more plastic than fish in our oceans. Now, we understand that the EU Generation Plan offers an opportunity to rebuild with our climate goals at the centre of our attention. By channeling funds through EU programmes that put the Green Deal at the heart of the recovery, we have an opportunity to not only recover from the economic crisis, but to also move towards a more circular, sustainable economic model. As we are starting to understand the finality of materials that we have become so accustomed to, we need to prepare ourselves for the economy of the future, one where the culture of consume and throw away is left in the past, where single-use plastic has no place. Worrying statistics show us that close to 75% of the marine litter in the world's oceans is plastic. Most of it is single-use, unbiodegradable plastic that remains in our ecosystems for centuries, harming our health, choking our fish, and throttling our turtles. It simply cannot continue at the current rate. It is time for change. Changing the way we deal with waste and the way we devour harmful, instantly throwaway goods is not easy. Nor is it something that can be changed overnight. But there are a few simple steps that we can all take in order to reduce the impact on our environment. I like to use plastic as an example that the impact of small personal decisions can be enormous. My point is that minuscule, almost unnoticeable differences in our lifestyles could make a massive difference. By investing more resources into research and innovation, we will be able to realize an agenda that promotes more sustainable consumption, production and lifestyles, which will help us become the first climate-neutral continent by 2050. The word sustainability must be at the heart of our economy. We have a plan, but now it is up to us to build a Europe which future generations can enjoy in the same way that we and our predecessors have been able to enjoy it. To truly make Europe sustainable, everyone, policymakers, educators, entrepreneurs, industry workers, citizens must get on board. And this book will help guide our youngest members in society to make sustainable choices from their formative years. I, for one, can't wait to read this book with my children. So congratulations once again to everyone who has contributed towards the creation of this book.
I have to say that I'm really proud that also the European Parliament gave us this patronage for this event and for this project that we have produced. So during the last few months, it was one of our priority. Susanna will also speak about our adventure producing this book for kids. And I have to say that the first Vice President of the European Parliament was really nice. And so we will send a few copies of the book also to her and their office. I know that she has 4 boys, 4 young boys, so I'm sure she will read our book also to her children. So we would like to understand just a bit the audience that is following us today. So I would like to ask Matteo to present the next step of our workshop.
Thank you. Good morning to everybody. I'm Matteo Sabini from APRE, working by Voices with Chiara and Flavia and other people here in APRE. So first of all, we would like to understand the audience we have. And we kindly ask you to go to menti.com and to put this code 2327810. We will have some questions for you, just 3-4 questions to understand better the audience and to yes, we would like to ask you something also about your awareness on bioeconomy. So now please go there, but in the meantime my colleague will go through Mentimeter. So you will see again the code in just a few seconds. And yes, this is a method we use in general to have some insights from you. So now, yes, the code is 2327810. In the next slide, I see that some people are coming. So if you can go, okay. So first of all, the first simple question is where you come from. So we'd like to understand what is your country. I see a lot of Mediterranean countries, so Italy, Greece, Portugal, but there are also people from Eastern Europe, that I mean is an area, a geographical area where the bioeconomy is growing fast and a lot. So I invite to the other people that are watching the event to go there and to put to reply. So you have the code that is 2327810. So I think that in the meantime we can move to the next slide. We want to understand how much are you aware about the bioeconomy and about bio-based products. So you can use, you can vote from 0 to 10, just to let us understand how much you're aware. So 0 if you never heard before, or 10 if you are completely aware. So I see a lot of people that has a quite high knowledge of the bioeconomy. I can just recall the survey we did with the BioBridges project, where the large majority of the people, half of people, had a scarce knowledge of the bioeconomy, or they've never heard it before. It was almost the 50%. So here today I see that there are many people skilled on this, so there is a quite high knowledge of the bioeconomy and bio-based products. So in the next slide, we'll see another question. Okay, is about your yes, the definition of bio-based. What does it mean? It's organic. It's made of renewable resources. It is compostable. It is sustainable. So let us know what is, in your opinion, your correct answer. I see that people is keeping on voting, and yes, also this was another question made in the survey that we did, and also in this point we noticed that there were a lot of confusion on the term. So also in this there is a lot to do. So we hope that with this book we can help people to better understand what is the core definition. Okay, so I think we can move on the next slide. And okay, so thanks for participating. This was just an ice breaking, and of course you reply correctly. And we will come back to Mentimeter later after the presentation, because we'll have a discussion on we'll make you some questions, and you have more information later. So thank you, and yes, Chiara, please.
Yes, thank you. May I have the slide? So I would like to introduce you this activity of the book. And we started from the many activities produced during this BioVoices project during the last 3 years, because the project started at the beginning of 2018. And we really produced many formats in order to raise awareness on bioeconomy and bio-based products around Europe. In 2018, in 2019, it was still possible to travel. Seems really ages ago, but it was until 1 year ago, we were traveling and moving, meeting many people, promoting, as you can see here from this slide, the public participation in bioeconomy to discuss regional and local bioeconomy strategies. We were supported by ambassadors and influencers, our bioheroes, in order to spread information, and we facilitated the debate, and we try to understand what are the challenges, what are the gaps and needs in order to boost the bioeconomy and especially the bio-based product in Europe. Next slide, thank you. Okay, connecting also the different actors of the value chain. We produced several video shorts with interviews with the researchers. We attended several conferences in Europe, international conferences also organized by the Commission, to show really the bio-based products. We have a big collection of different bio-based products. People really need to understand, to touch, and to feel what is the bio-based economy. We use as a supporter in many of our activities researchers and also industry as testimonials, and we attended several conferences and events talking about how to communicate the bioeconomy. Next slide, thank you. So we produced several materials, quiz, competition, call to action, games, interactive information, success stories to inspire people to create also new networking opportunities and so on. So you can see from here, so how many products we have produced during the last years. And we have used the next slide, especially the social media. We have also conducted a public perception survey last year, so just published in December it was published. And it is really interesting how people still don't know exactly the terminology, have different misunderstanding about the meaning of the different aspects of the bioeconomy, but in particular of the bio-based economy. So we tried to collect several voices from all kinds of stakeholders, so not only business and researchers, but especially citizens and policymakers. So it's another stakeholder that really should be involved in order to have the bio-based economy really boosted. Next slide. So as I told you, we used a lot of materials, especially through social media campaigns, storytelling and videos, and we produced a bioart gallery. So it's something that Susanna has behind her, Matteo is behind him, and also I have another sample of our gallery. So we tried to show the feedstock and what we can produce from the feedstock. In the video for kids that you have seen at the beginning, you can see, you have heard the child, one child saying from the apple peel we can make new leather, for instance. Or another kid said, I really liked the cream from blueberries. So these are the big novelties coming from the bio-based economy, and we tried to show and to make this all this information understandable from the public at large with these pictures and explanation that are quite easy for any kind of people, so understandable. And so we started from all this information, all this knowledge, all these experiences, especially talking with people in general, to produce this book for kids. So next slide. Because we had in the time, again, another slide, another time, please, if you can push again, okay. We had several activities with young people and young generation in events, in the schools, but we never approached very, very young people at preschooler or elementary age, so from 5 to 8 years old. I have to say that we looked around Europe. If somebody produced something, we found many materials, but from an older age, so from 10 years old and so for people from 10, 15 years old, we have a lot of materials, we have a lot of educational material, but not for very young people. And so for us was really an objective to give information to kids so young, because, so next slide, because we don't, in this way, we don't give information and education only to kids, but really we can engage also their parents, their grandparents, and also the teachers. So our aim was to make understandable, easy, and comprehensive the terminology, the meaning behind the bioeconomy and the bio-based economy to a very wide range, to children, as I told you, from 5 to 8 years old, but especially with all the adults that will read the book together with them. So this book has a scientific sound contents. We asked for many revisions from a scientific committee that we built for the creation of this, the production of this book. We have involved 32 experts from academia and industry. Next slide, please. Because for us it was really important that a book has a solid scientific background, even if it is explained in a very easy manner. So this is our scientific committee. I have to thank them really official, publicly, because they supported us during the last few months, since November, when we started this adventure, let's say, in the production of this book, until 2 weeks ago, because we closed the book just recently. And all these experts were really active, and they also, I think, enjoyed this activity together with us. So next slide. So up to now, we have decided to print the book in more than 10,000 copies. We have already 11 languages, because let's say the original version is the English, but we have already translated the book in other 10 languages: Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, Greek, Dutch, German, Romanian, Slovak, Estonian, Hungarian. But we hope that the book will be really a great success, in order then to continue and translating in other European languages. We will have the printed version in a few weeks, so in middle of April we will start the distribution in selected schools, bookshops, museums for children, and other institutional contexts. Strengthening the knowledge and sensitivity of future generation to environmental issues, sustainability and circularity through information and education programs targeting younger generation can contribute to raising future citizens, decision makers, and workforce informed and interested in bioeconomy. So this was really, this is our challenge, let's say, that we have in producing this book for kids. Next slide. So the book was produced in the frame of this European project funded by Horizon 2020, BioVoices. BioVoices will close in a few weeks, but another project will be active. It is already running and will be active for the next 2 years. Transition to Bio. Transition to Bio has several activities dedicated to education for children. So we will start with hands-on laboratories, info educational games. So this book will be published on our website, BioVoices, and then transition to Bio, and will become a game, an online game for kids. In a few months, by the end of the year, we will have also this online game. We will produce several training for teachers, school competition. we have already started the activity to promote the book for kids in Italy, organizing a training for teachers in already more than 10 schools, approaching teachers that will then speak with their pupils. And we have already more than 1,000 pupils involved in Italy in this activity under transition to bio. With this training for teachers, then more than 1,000 pupils will receive the book. And when COVID will give us the possibility, go in the school with laboratories, using what? Using some experiments that are already in the book, but Susanna will say more about the book and the content. So next slide. I would like just to ask to follow us through our social media. We will maintain the BioVoices social media because today we have more than 7,000 followers. So it will be funded through Transition to Bio, but please go to BioVoices, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and also Instagram, because we have published a lot of content, and you can continue to follow us in the next month. So just another slide. Sorry, just the last one. We are another slide. So our final event of BioVoices, it will be on the 22nd of April from 10 to 13 European Central Time hour. And so stay tuned and follow us. And I leave the floor to Susanna.
Great, thanks, Chiara. I will share my screen. Fully. Okay. Okay. Do you see it big, I guess? I hope. Oops.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so how the book look like? And basically, we started this adventure in November, more or less, with a budget that was not foreseen in BioVoices, to be honest. Is a result of the COVID, the money that we didn't spend, and we wanted to dedicate this money to do something nice. And therefore we decided that could be a good option to do this book and to start something new, something completely new. And I have to say that we received the enthusiasm by everybody, and also by the teachers now, but also really by everybody. And oops, what happens? Do you see small, no? Vabbè. I leave it like that. I don't know what happens. Anyway. Okay, so this is the first book basically targeting kids from 5 to 8 years old. And what we try to do is to have to design something that is around the life of the kids. So basically around their everyday situation. So from house, school, countryside, seaside, but also city, supermarket, park, and then two transversal topics, because it's absolutely important. We realized, meanwhile we were preparing the book, that it is absolutely important to provide an overview of what the bioeconomy is, and also to provide some glossary to really make sure that all the concepts are there, because what we wanted to do is, okay, to speak to the kids in a very easy and attractive and colorful way, but in the other end, we wanted to guarantee from every single step a solid scientific background and a solid knowledge to be conveyed. And this is the reason why we wanted to involve all these people in the group of work. And then, of course, we have a Let's Play section that is a section that will consolidate through playing all the knowledge that has been gathered in the book. So how the book works. Okay, so the book works like that. So the first page is this double page that provides an overview of what bioeconomy is, and the kids. Sorry, I have the COVID, and this is the reason why I'm a little bit with the cough, but I will be fine. So the children are invited in the first scene that already have a dozen of little stories. The scene introduces the next situation of the book and will provide a playful overview of the bioeconomy and all this area, the different areas and domain. Everything is connected in a circular fashion, and the children can discover hundreds of little tiny details and scenes that are stimulating his curiosity. And a brother and sister that you see on the right, that are the two kids that are driving them to the book, driving the kids to the book, will open and disclose the new scenes. And okay, so as you can see, is what is nice in this scene is all the presence of these little people that are doing number of things, like researchers, like workers from the processing to the agriculture, from the seashore. Is a picture that really provides an overview where everything is integrated in the bioeconomy. So the town, the park, all the places where the people are working are part of this initial scene. From this scene, what happens is that we go in the following areas. So we go in the different sections that I told you are house, city, seaside, school, countryside. And what we want to do and what we want to claim and to convey is the fact that we need to really start to change the attitude of the people. And so the kids have a role in this change, in driving this transition toward a more sustainable consumption, production, and lifestyle. Well, we also wanted to convey more, because bioeconomy, of course, is absolutely connected to everything that is related to sustainability, so circular economy, sustainable production, consumption, and lifestyle, climate change, the impact of the bioeconomy in the economy, in the society, in the work, for instance, in the environment, and also the ecosystems, the biodiversity, the planet's protection, the end of life of the products, and several definitions, but also other elements that are embedded here and there in the book. The first place is the house. And the house, of course, is the place that where the kids live most of their time, and they really recognize this place. And it's a very good scenario to introduce bio-based products and bioeconomy, because the children start to discover the fact that bioeconomy is already in our life, and we can really live in a more sustainable way. The book describes everything in form of curiosity, examples, questions, surprises, and it uses the style of Osborne, that is a very famous publishing chain in UK, but is famous all over the world. So they have this book with the little windows that open, and in each window, in our case, we have 10 windows per topic, per area. And then inside the window, it is explained the question that is outside. So as you can see, for instance, in these examples, we have the some I don't know, for instance, this is the how do you brush your teeth, and then we have the inside part, that is this one about the toothbrush. And the second environment that is we selected is the school, because again, the school is the second place where the kids are passing a lot of time. So even in that case, several examples of the typical day of school, so even the lunch, the gym, the music, so everything that is part of the school. And for all of them, we have several examples and several windows. We decided to use one of the flagship designers, that is Alistair Illustration from Osborne, from this publishing chain, because we wanted to really have it very, very, I mean, impactful, and also the team. I mean, I have to say that we worked day and night, me, Chiara, but also Michela Cohen, Serena Fabbrini. We worked really a lot. The support of the partner, the scientific committee. It was an impressive work, I have to say, but finally we are very happy of what we achieved. The next environment is the countryside. That is another environment that the kids recognize. And in this place particularly, we wanted to explain the role of the bioeconomy in feeding again the soil, in keeping the soil healthy, the question of the circularity, the reuse of waste, the valorization of everything, and the connection of all these elements. And so again, some windows, I don't want to go into detail. Then there is the seaside, that is another place that is very familiar and where the kids really love to go. But the seaside is not only a place where to have fun, it's also a place that produces work, that creates new technologies. Indeed, you see there is the researchers that is very connected to the town, because everything that comes from the town goes in the ocean. So is an entire ecosystem that live as a whole. And this is one of the messages that we wanted to convey to the kids, the biodiversity, for instance, the importance of the ecosystem and for the future generations. And then the city, because this is the place where the majority of kids live. And so how the bioeconomy can contribute to fight pollution and to address the challenges. There is the park, there is the supermarket, there is the city per se. So in all these elements that the kids find familiar, they really can find something, recognize something that is in their life, but have a new perspective and a new solution. And finally, some examples of how we need to behave, read the labeling, new products, new solutions. Everybody, as you have seen, we have an entire family, not only the two kids, but we have the grandmother, we have the little kids, the father, the mother. And then everything is consolidated in this page, in which there is some exercises, some funny way to consolidate what has been learned through exercises, through ideas, and finally a glossary, because we believe that is absolutely important to provide specific information. This was somehow very complex because our colleagues from the scientific committee, I have to say that were very serious. And then we had a lot of way back and forth, but finally I think that the book is solid enough and we are very proud of this. The very last slide is how it worked. So very first concept with this sketch, the concept and the first definition of the contents, the concept visualization done by Letizia, by Alistair, the designers, the validation from the scientific committee, not only in terms of contents that are more easy, but also in terms of visualization, because it is really easy to provide a wrong information with a design. So we designed this, and then we went back to them with the final version, and finally the translation, that are not only translation, but also linguistic version. Indeed, all the BioVoices partners found someone that is expert not only in pedagogic approaches, but also in specific contents in the bioeconomy, to be able to really make a very high level, high quality content. Okay, so I'm done. I pass back the
Yes,
board to
thank you,
Chiara.
Susanna. So I have to say that Alistar is not able to join us this morning. She had a funeral this morning, exactly this morning. So something that was not foreseen. But she is with us anyway. I have to say that she, first of all, it was something new also for her. The bioeconomy was something new as content also for our illustrator, but it was really a pleasure to work with so high level person. So Susanna said all the information about the book. I would like to thank the partners of BioVoices for the translation that Susanna has just said, and also that you can find a form in order to ask some copies of the book. So please fill in the form that you can find the link in the chat of YouTube in order to ask a few copies of the book. So now I would like to go to the next phase and would like to thank Peter Varheim and ask Flavia also to put the presentation from Mr. Varheim. As I told you, the head of unit for the bioeconomy and food system in the Directorate General for Research and Innovation of the European Commission. And Varheim is also involved in our scientific committee of the book. And now I leave the floor to Peter. Please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chiara and Susanna, for inviting me to this marvelous event. Good morning to all participants in this video conference. A pity that we can meet only virtually again, but nevertheless, the messages are coming across. Congratulations to the BioVoices team for this great book launch event. I myself have little older kids, 4 teenagers at home, and also once in a while I'm trying to raise awareness and inform them on what innovative ideas come from the bioeconomy. That's sometimes a bit challenging, but then again, once in a while we get responses which show that there is increasing awareness. Last weekend, for instance, while I was doing the dishes with my 14-year-old daughter, she told me, "Daddy, why are we still using synthetic detergents and not bio-based detergents, which they are using, for instance, during their Girls Scout camp?" So awareness raising among the young generation is without any doubt really very, very important. And I think your book can be a great vehicle to communicate better also to the young generation. I would like to give a little bit of the policy context, explain, mention our bioeconomy strategy, which we have at EU level, also mention how consumer aspects, awareness raising, education aspects are included in it, and thirdly also mention a foresight study which shows future pathways for the bioeconomy, which has been done by an expert group. Next slide, please. I mean, you have already mentioned in your book, you have shown with the book what the bioeconomy is and what examples of innovative products we have. You see here on this slide 4 examples of innovative products. Imagine a world where all plastic cups could be replaced with bio-based cups, maybe even made from agricultural waste, yeah, and which would be biodegradable. This really could be a huge contribution to our environmental problem and to the climate agenda. But For instance, on the right-hand side, you see built-in wood, sustainable timber construction. Houses can be constructed not only out of concrete and steel, but increasingly also out of wood again. And wood-based, for instance, insulation materials, engineered wood, which has similar characteristics like steel. So here is a lot of potential for innovation. And this is why, the next slide, please. We also have developed an EU bioeconomy strategy, and that was updated then in 2018 with this strategy paper shown on the right-hand side. In this strategy, we argue that the bioeconomy covers all sectors and systems that rely on renewable biological resources. It includes land and water ecosystems, but not only the products, also the services they provide, the ecosystem services. That is very important. It therefore includes traditional products such as food and feed, but also more innovative products that come also from the bio-based services, energy and services. In all areas, we see significant potential for innovation. Why is that concept overall relevant? I think there are at least there are many reasons, but one observation is that we cannot stay within our planetary boundaries if we continue to consume mineral and fossil-based materials at the pace we have done during the past decades. Since 1970, the global use of resources and materials has more than tripled, and resource extraction is responsible for half of the world's carbon emissions. And a second aspect, which is more forward-looking, was also highlighted in a McKinsey study last year, which argued that until 2040, we could replace 60% of today's industrial fossil-based and mineral-based materials with bio-based materials. Hence, the bioeconomy has a lot of potential to make an important transition happen. The bioeconomy offers the chance to replace many of these materials. All this is also reinforced through the EU's European Green Deal, which is supporting the transition to a more sustainable world. And we argue that the bioeconomy is very much enshrined in this European Green Deal. If it is a circular and sustainable bioeconomy, it can make an important contribution to this transition. Next slide, please. In fact, it is, from our point of view, a model for green growth, because the bioeconomy looks holistically at the entire system. It looks at the economic, social, and environmental aspects of the transition. It helps to address environmental challenges, such as achieving climate neutrality by mid-century, making a better protection of biodiversity possible in our ecosystems, reduce the dependence on non-renewable resources. It can thereby also help to modernize and strengthen EU's industrial basis, create many opportunities for new startups, like we had it 30, 40 years ago with all the startups in the renewable energy sector. We can have also more startups in the bioeconomy. It can hence enhance resource efficiency and circularity, and overall transform how we produce and consume. Next slide, please. In terms of statistics, the colleagues in JRC have put together these slides, which show that if we include agriculture, forestry, and all the processing industries, the size of the bioeconomy in Europe is very significant. In terms of both turnover and jobs, of course, the traditional aspects, agriculture, forestry, food production, are still very important. but also the manufacturing of wood products and turning them into furnitures or manufacturing of bio-based chemicals, pharmaceuticals, plastics, and rubber, and also bioenergy do play a very important role. Next slide, please. Let me now also mention that we do not only have an EU bioeconomy strategy, but we also have many different national and regional strategies. Currently, 9 member states have dedicated bioeconomy strategies, plus the UK and Norway. Many bioeconomy strategies are under development, and we also have more than 50 regions with bioeconomy related strategies, which also shows that the bioeconomy in Europe is not one single concept, but it's very diverse. It depends on the resource endowments. In Northern Europe, it's very often related to the forestry sector, and while large proportions of the bioeconomy in the Southwest concern fibers, bio-based textiles, and high-quality food. And there is also growing interest in the blue bioeconomy in Northern and Southern Europe. Next slide, please. I will now just indicate with 3 slides that we are in our EU bioeconomy strategy also specifically making references to the consumers, to awareness raising and education. You see here, for instance, that one action refers to labeling of products. In principle, I think what is always important is if we compare, for instance, classical fossil-based products with bio-based products, what is really the comparison of the environmental footprint? It's not always said that the bio-based materials are the better ones. Therefore, we need to have life cycle assessments. They are very important to also provide the information to the consumer they would like to get in order to make well-informed choices. Next slide, please. Awareness raising activities are also important. Our commissioner is responsible for research innovation, but also for education and youth. She gives very big importance to that and has recently also said at an event that it is her goal to support bioeconomy action that engage all citizens starting from a very early age on. So she's also very appreciative of your project and your book for kids. Raising awareness and engaging stakeholders is also enshrined in our bioeconomy strategy. We aim to support it through communication initiatives like this one on BioVoices and transition to bio. We have also created a European bioeconomy forum for the member states where we try to help to raise awareness for the potential of the bioeconomy in all member states and regions of Europe. Next slide, please. The bioeconomy education is also a specific action in our strategy through promoting education, training, and skills across the bioeconomy. And we are also supporting action that are specifically trying to foster cooperation between, for instance, universities, European bioeconomy universities. We are providing support to develop curricula, which provides opportunities for study programs that are more explicitly referring to the bioeconomy. And we see quite a number of study programs in Europe developing. So a lot of progress is made on this. Last but not least, next slide, please. Let me just show 2 slides. Please click further. And let me just show 2 slides on a recent study that has been commissioned by the Joint Research Center jointly with us, DG Research, and we have asked an external network of experts to carry out a forward-looking analysis of exploring scenarios towards a sustainable, clean, and resource-efficient bioeconomy with a focus on climate neutrality and sustainable development. Colleagues like Uwe Fritsche and Gianluca Brunori et al. Have worked on this study. And I thought I share this slide with you because it basically shows what are the important drivers that are important to really make the transition in a normative way, a transition to a sustainable and circular bioeconomy. You see on the x-axis the societal dimension, consumer and business behavior, and on the y-axis you see the policy axis and climate change adaptation. The overall guiding principle of being transformative is, in this context, acknowledging the trade-offs, possible synergies, but it is clearly arguing that it's not only neoliberal economic action, markets and policies that are important, but that in fact also very clearly the societal and consumer behavior is very important. Only in the upper right-hand corner of this graph, in the upper right-hand corner where you would have, yes, consumer that strive towards sustainability, businesses that are ready to adapt to new business models, plus proactive policies, only there where society is doing it together, we could really make the transition to a sustainable circular bioeconomy. Next slide and last slide, please. And this, on that basis, this normative report presented also some insights into forward-looking trends for 2030 and 2050. For instance, arguing that on that basis, the bioenergy supply and demand would decrease, while it remains to have a very important complementary role in the entire grid. You would see an increase in biomaterials and ecosystem services, also biomass for construction materials, and use of innovative biomaterials would increase. Overall, this normative forward-looking study also highlights again the importance of circularity. It also argues that bioeconomy offers, as the Vice President Metsola said, offers many chances for getting out of the crisis in a more resilient way, and therefore deserves more attention in the recovery and resilience funds, which some member states are already doing. For all this, they have developed a nice term, as I find, bio-V economy, which again shows that building in the entire society, taking the entire society along is key. And therefore, in that respect, again, I think your book is marvelous and a fantastic contribution to in that overall effort. Thank you very much for your attention, and back to you, Chiara or Susanna.
Thank you, Peter. So I would like to ask to Ms. Marelli and Borzacchiello to introduce the next presentation. I would like to thank both Maria Teresa and Luisa for their efforts during the preparation of the book, because really they both contribute, I have to say, a lot, giving us their contribution from their point of view. So their original point of view, since they are from the Knowledge Center for Bioeconomy and from the JRC of the European Commission. So really the first voice of the European Commission. So who will start? Maria Teresa?
I will start. Luisa will start.
Luisa.
Good morning.
Thank
Thank you for your introduction. And I have to really thank Maria Teresa, because she is the one that really made and gave our contribution to the book. So she did an excellent work. And today we share the presentation. Let me introduce myself first. I am Luisa Marelli. I'm the deputy head of the bioeconomy unit in the JRC. And Maria Teresa, maybe you can already introduce yourself so we don't interrupt.
Yes, yes, true. Thanks, Luisa. Thanks to the organizers. So I'm Maria Teresa Borzachello, and I'm working for the coordination team of the Knowledge Center for Bioeconomy, which is a European Commission endeavor to engage science and policymakers in this complex world of the bioeconomy.
Yes, thank you. Next slide, please. So we will give you this morning a brief introduction of our activities with a focus on the Knowledge Center for the Bioeconomy. We will show the main features of knowledge centers, what they are, and what you can find in there. But let me first spend a couple of words about the JRC. The Joint Research Center is a Directorate General of the European Commission, but with a very specific role and function within the European Commission. So we are the knowledge service, as you can see here, which means we are the one providing scientific support to policies. The science provider for the Commission. So we have the difficult role to make science not only available to policymakers and in support to policies, but also digestible for them, because you can imagine that science is always difficult to be translated into policies, to be clearly understood by non-experts, by policymakers, etc. So this is really the role of the GRC, producing good science and make it available to the policymakers. Next slides, please. We are quite a big organization, a big directorate general, and with another unique specificity, which is that we are spread across six different sites in Europe, in 5 member states. So the headquarter and all the administration, most of the administration, but the headquarter is in Brussels. But the biggest place is located in Ispra, in Italy, where we actually are. And this is the main research, we have the main research facilities there. But we also have research facilities in Germany, in Karlsruhe, specifically dedicated to nuclear research, and then in Sevilla, economic studies, modeling, etc. Then we have in Petten, in the Netherlands, dedicated mainly to energy, and then in Hale, reference materials, etc. So as you can see, it's really a big organization spread across different sites with many topics that we cover with our science. Next slide, please. So we are now in a difficult, let's say, situation created by the overabundance of information. So we arrived at a level that we really have a lot of information available from any kind of sources, including, of course, internet and all the possible sources of information, which are really making the scientific domain complex. So there is a strong need to make clarity among this overabundance of information, filtering, synthesizing, making sense of all this information in order for them to be fed into the policy process. And that's very important, because also the policy making process is very complex, and if it has to be based on science, we need to provide them clear and synthesized and filtered correct scientific information. And this is a two-way process, of course. Also, the policy must feed the scientific information in order to identify the policy, the priorities, and the scientific priorities and the needs. Next slide, please. So how the European Commission responded to this important demand and request for filtering scientific information. We have created what we call knowledge centers. Knowledge centers are virtual entities that have the scope to exactly, as I mentioned already, synthesize and filter the science, which is both internally produced as well as managed or sourced from external sources. We study, we group together this knowledge, we filter it, and we make it available to the Commission. At the moment, in the Commission, all the knowledge centers are led by the JRC, but are really Commissions-wide tools. At the moment, there are 7 knowledge centers created. One is the one on the bioeconomy. The latest one created is the Knowledge Center for Biodiversity. We also have recently created another one on food and nutrition security and the disaster risk management, migration and demography, the food fraud and quality, and the territorial policies were created already a few years ago together with the one on the bioeconomy. Next slide, please. So my colleague Peter already gave a very detailed introduction on the bioeconomy in general and on the bioeconomy strategy. What I want to highlight here is that the bioeconomy is really transversal and cuts across several disciplines, sectors, from the biomass producing sector to the biomass processing sectors. And as such, a sustainable bioeconomy is really important to support many of the objectives of the European Green Deal. And it's also key to achieve climate neutrality by 2050. And this is really an important feature of the bioeconomy. So the bioeconomy strategy, which was approved in updated in 2018, as Peter already explained, with the 5 objectives that are listed here below in the slide, it is really supporting many of the policies and the strategy of the European Green Deal. For example, well, in the farm to fork, the common agricultural policy and all the related agricultural, let's say, policies and strategies, including the blue economy, the circular economy, and so on and so forth. But also it's mentioned in the biodiversity strategy, and as it recognizes the importance of providing materials, products, services that are increasing the quality, the quantity, and the resilience, for example, of EU forests, as this is explicitly mentioned in the biodiversity strategy. Also, the farm to fork strategy explicitly makes references to the circular and sustainable bioeconomy. So you can see that we are really at the center of many of the next ambitions of the European Commission, so the climate neutrality and the European Green Deal. And next slide, please. So this is why we have created a knowledge center on bioeconomy, really to respond to and to provide a unique source of information, of filtered information to policymakers, to the public, to stakeholders, to scientists about this really cross-cutting discipline. And I would like to show here one of the products that we made available in general for the public to introduce the Bioeconomy Knowledge Center and the bioeconomy in general. And then I will hand over to Maria Teresa to give you some examples of the products available in our Knowledge Center. So if you can launch the video, please, it's only 2 minutes.
Climate change and land and ecosystem degradation, together with growing demands for food and energy, force us to find new ways of producing and consuming. A sustainable and circular bioeconomy helps address these challenges. Renewable biological resources from agriculture, forests, seas, and organic waste can be used to produce food, energy, and some of the materials we need, such as plastics, textiles, and chemicals. What if paints and detergents could be made from crops? Algae could be turned into fuel, and industrial byproducts could be transformed into fertilizers. The bioeconomy can help ensure there is sufficient and nutritious food for all, that natural resources are managed in a sustainable way, and that we are less dependent on non-renewable resources. It can also help us mitigate and adapt to climate change, strengthen competitiveness, and create new jobs. To develop a sustainable and circular bioeconomy, policies must be evidence-based and coherent across different sectors. For this, we need a common and robust knowledge base. Here is where the Knowledge Centre for Bioeconomy comes into play. We identify, filter, and structure data and information from different sources and make them accessible. We bring together researchers, policymakers, and other experts in the field. We analyse and synthesise available evidence and communicate it in a transparent, tailored, and concise manner. We build a common and enhanced knowledge base for policymaking on the bioeconomy. Find out more about the Knowledge Centre for Bioeconomy.
Okay, thank you. And Maria Teresa, I hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. So one of the core activities of the Knowledge Center for Bioeconomy we have seen is to identify and filter relevant information and to make it accessible online on the Knowledge Center for Bioeconomy web platform. So far, we have reached more than 3,600 resources published in the library, and these include different kind of resources, publications, science for policy briefs, online interactive dashboards, videos, infographics, publications, data sets, news, list of events, and they can be accessed in different ways. You can search for them through a simple search bar. You can browse by topic or by country, or you can have a look at the latest resources and featured content of the moment. Next slide, please. The Knowledge Center for Bioeconomy aims also to analyze, synthesize, and communicate available evidence to policymakers. One way to do this is via the Knowledge for Policy Briefs. These are short documents, no more than 12 pages, that are addressing specific topics that are identified as relevant for the policymaking of the bioeconomy. They are based on several scientific publications from where the key information is presented in a digestible manner, in particular through data visualization. Importantly, these briefs are developed by the relevant GRC scientists with the valuable inputs of policy officers in the relevant services of the European Commission. So this is really a co-creation exercise between science and policy. Another example of a decision support system hosted by the Knowledge Center for Bioeconomy is the European Bioeconomy Monitoring System. It was launched during the Global Bioeconomy Summit in November 2020. This new system provides comprehensive, robust and reliable information to monitor all the areas of the bioeconomy. Its interactive dashboard allows to track the bioeconomy's progress towards sustainability in the European Union and in its member states. And the active engagement of experts from the member states, from academia, from international organizations will ensure that the monitoring system remains a functional and up-to-date tool. The monitoring system indeed is continuously improved, and new features and enhancements will be introduced regularly in the course of the years. Next slide, please. So another aim of the Knowledge Center for Bioeconomy is to bring together, sorry, the previous one. Thanks. To bring together researchers, policymakers, and other experts in the field. For this reason, we launched a community of practice on bioeconomy back in 2018. This community of practice includes an online space where Commission experts in particular exchange ideas and knowledge, and also the organization of offline events where experts from member states and international institutions are also invited to contribute. In the period from 2018 to 2020, we organized 15 physical and virtual events, engaging more than 500 attendees from various institutions and organizations. And we are continuing now in 2021, albeit in the recent period, we are just having virtual gatherings due to the pandemic. As also mentioned by Peter Verheim in the previous intervention, last year in 2020, we pulled together within this community of practice of bioeconomy, we pulled together a group of external experts in an ad hoc network to contribute through forward-looking analysis needed for developing the necessary transition pathways for the bioeconomy with foresight approaches and also modeling approaches. The reports from these events are normally made available to the community of practice workspace, but also in the Knowledge Center for Bioeconomy website. And in particular, the foresight report that was mentioned by Peter will be launched in mid-April. Next slide, please. And not only we analyze and synthesize available evidence, but our aim is also to communicate some such knowledge in a transparent, accurate, and concise manner. For these reasons, since 2019, we are producing short videos related to the policy briefs that I have introduced before. So for each specific topic relevant for the bioeconomy, we have conceived these sort of teasers for the policy audience to engage and direct the policymakers to read the corresponding policy brief. So in this, what I showed in the slide is a teaser which we use for social media that then is related to a longer video of 2 minutes which presents the specific topic, then gives the main definition on the topic itself, and then presents the key message from the corresponding brief, as well as the identified gaps. The target audience of these videos are policymakers with an interest to work in the bioeconomy, but the clear message conveyed can also benefit the general public. You can go on the next slide, please. So, whilst I've repeatedly said that policymakers is the main target audience for the Knowledge Center for Bioeconomy, it's also true that reaching out to citizens is crucial, and social media are an effective way to do so. In collaboration with our social media team, the Joint Research Center, we communicate key data and information, also highlighting the importance that the Commission attaches to evidence-based policymaking. We indeed think that it's important to raise awareness about the impacts of policy on real life, especially related to sustainability objectives. But it is important also to underpin all news and information that we give with scientific data and analysis presented in a way that is understandable by policymakers and the society. Let me conclude by really thanking the organizers to have taken these very complex scientific concepts and results related to bioeconomy and presented it in a way that young generations very young generations can understand. Myself, I have 3 kids, so I will really use the results of this book. And I hope that this will pave the way to passionate scientists, conscientious policymakers, and responsible citizens. We list here all the contacts to keep in touch with the Joint Research Center. And with this, I thank you very much for the attention.
Thank you very much, Luisa and Maria Teresa, for the opportunity to know better what you are doing in the Knowledge Center, especially in ISPRA, and about the Knowledge Center for Bioeconomy. So I would like now to leave the floor to Nelo Merencia from the BIC, from the consortium of the bio-based industries. Also, Nelo was in the committee, in the scientific committee of the book, because also the experience of the industries are really important. So, Nelo, I leave you the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity to speak at this occasion of launching the BioVoices book for kids. And even though I don't have children at that very young age anymore, I do have grandkids for whom this book can play a significant role. And in addition, I must admit, I love to make a contribution to efforts to guide today's kids into their future. I have done this before during my chemical industry career, and I love to continue to do this. But permit me to speak now from the bio-based industry's perspective. I will not be using slides. I'm just trying to use words, non-traditional industry terminology to get my message across, which is much in contrast to the book where images are crucial. In 2019, we presented the Vision 2050 of the bio-based sector, a cooperation between industry, BIC, and all the stakeholders of the bio-based economy, and by extension, the bioeconomy itself. This vision is aligned with all European initiatives leading to a carbon neutral world by 2050. The heart of this vision is the ambition to achieve a circular bioeconomic society by 2050. And what we mean by that is that by then, citizens, consumers are actively sustaining the society by living it, by being a part of it. This can only be achieved by a different mindset, by a different behavior when it comes to purchasing food, materials, and services, and by closing loops and maintaining the value of resources, products, and services for as long as possible. Most of the time, when you write for the future, you are writing for somebody else, and this Vision 2050 is not an exception. We are starting to design the industry and society of the future, but most of us will not be the ones to implement, maintain, and continuously improve it. If we look around and ahead, we realize that by 2050, most, if not all, of today's leaders will not be at the steering wheel of industry, educational institutions, government, society, etc. The leaders in 2050 and beyond are today's kids. They have the future ahead of them. They will shape that future, a future that necessarily is different than the world we live in today, as we describe this change in the Vision 2050. So if there is one red thread in the actions leading us from now to 2050, then that is change. But most of the time, change doesn't happen overnight. As a matter of fact, the average human being doesn't want to change. Humans resist change in first instance. But humans will change, and they will change rapidly if they see and feel the urgency for change to avoid a catastrophe, for example, or when change gives an advantage over others, or if the change is something very interesting and appealing to them. When it comes to bioeconomy, we need changes that are compatible with the revolution we have seen in the use of smartphones, tablets, laptops, and the communication through social media. All of this occurred in a relatively short period of time and are today part of mainstream interaction between people. The task ahead of us is to realize change in everything we do and make bioeconomy and its components mainstream in our daily lives. I'll address briefly 3 areas or topics where this change is already happening and should pick up speed to achieve this goal by 2050. To start with the industry. We are in the process of transforming the industry that makes energy, materials, and services for the society in which we live. To be precise, this is just a beginning. We are at the beginning of the process. We are changing the source for making energy materials and services from fossil-based to bio-based, eliminating the emission of greenhouse gases, especially CO2, carbon dioxide, that are beyond the capacity of capturing CO2 during biomass growth. Our bio-based industry is also changing processes to make them more resource and energy efficient, avoiding waste and protecting man and the environment. The products and services that the bio-based industry sets out to make are designed to perform better than the state of the art at competitive cost and to be recycled after use. In other words, we are creating bio-based industrial ecosystems. The second topic I want to address is, if industry can change, so must citizens and consumers. The changes that industry can make in its operations and the new materials and services that it produces for the society can only be successful if citizens and consumers understand what they are, what they mean for themselves, and for the world we live in, especially for the environment, biodiversity, and climate. Citizens and consumers, and these include all employees that work in the industry itself, once they understand and accept, they can deliberately purchase and use these new materials. These new bio-based and sustainable materials should be as common and as much desired for our daily lives as our smartphones, tablets, and laptops. The change has to be fundamental. And since change is not the grown-up person's best friend, we need to focus on the youth, on today's kids. The most efficient way to achieve this fundamental change is through education at the earliest possible stage. This means primary school, so that the new wave of education can be continued in secondary and higher education. But success of teaching kids about new concepts like sustainability, circularity, bioeconomy itself depends heavily on teachers in primary school and the kids' parents. And the growing application of digital technologies and tools requires more technical courses, more courses in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, the STEM courses, in education from the early stages, a process that could and should be supported by industry and government. We are therefore in need to create bio-based educational ecosystems. Thirdly, about education itself. Education and teaching methods may have to change. In the changing world we live in today, with kids using digitalization and virtual connectivity increasingly in their daily lives, education probably needs to include new teaching methods, building on the kids' ability of using digital applications and social media. Bringing new concepts to kids will always require understandable words, images, and movements. A book for children can serve this purpose. It should address in easy words and images the benefits that change behavior in consumption and use of new materials and services, and a different mindset of citizens and consumers compared with the traditional 20th century's linear ones can indeed save the world we live in. The bio-based industry is more than willing to assist in this process of co-creating new teaching materials and methods. We could provide real-time examples of the making of and the use of new materials to be taken up in school books in such a way that understanding the examples could lead to understanding concepts like protect the environment, enhance biodiversity, realize circularity, and achieve sustainability without saying these words as starting points. The bio-based industry is therefore a partner in co-creating innovative and effective teaching materials for kids and youngsters. So therefore, my conclusion is that our hope is that through new educational materials and teaching methods and an educational system for kids that includes support for teachers and parents, we will indeed achieve a circular bioeconomic society by 2050. In this society, well-educated today's kids are indeed implementing, maintaining, and leading industry and every other sector of our bioeconomy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nelo. And I would say that you have used a keyword for us, change, and because one of the objective of the book is the lifestyle change. So starting from kids is the only possibility that we have. So I would like to ask Mr. Patterman for some words also, because I know that he's really enthusiastic of this product, let's say, of this book. And I have to thank him a lot, because really he sent us many contributions when we were preparing the content of the book. So again, thank you, Christian. I leave you the floor.
Well, thank you very much, dear ladies, dear friends, wherever you are this morning in Europe or even elsewhere, I don't know. First of all, congratulations. Congratulations to the wonderful, in particular, ladies team, but also to Peter Wareham and the colleagues from the BBI, that you supported this very unique event and this very unique venture. You should be aware that this is the first time ever that a kid's book on the bioeconomy for the 5 to 8 years old kids in the world has been published. That is already a very interesting message, frankly speaking. And therefore, I think we should capitalize on that, because no one in Asia, no one in the US, no one in Latin America has yet done that. So congratulations again. I like to speak to you for these very few moments as a grandfather, and also having attended the scientific committee meetings. And had we 15 or 16 years ago, when we started with this knowledge-based bioeconomy, had we been informed that just 15 or 16 years later we would introduce a book for kids on the bioeconomy in 11 languages and probably soon in more, I would have put these people in the trash and say, hey, come on. What do you want? But the world has changed. Did you know that milk can be worn? This was the first phrase a young mother was speaking in the video we have seen. And it's a wonderful phrase showing the whole complexity, showing the potentials we have really in having such a book here. This phrase expresses curiosity. You could easily ask that question also to a teenager or to a senior citizen. But this phrase also expresses a kind of respect of that milk is not just a product, that the microorganism, that the biological resource which was producing milk should be respected because it's a talent. Now, if you would put that question to someone between 20 and 30, he might then be even more interested in knowing that the potential of such a fiber, which is produced by milk in a textile, would be anti-allergic. That would be another advantage for this person. And if you're a little elder, then you might even think about the mega trends, of animal welfare, of dairy product for the upcoming emerging middle classes and how they will change the world, etc. So if I may share with you 2 or 3 thoughts in the next 2 minutes on my experiences in the scientific committee and when dealing with this wonderful book. The first one was, it was really challenging because the language of the kids between 4 and 8 is different in comparison with the language the teenagers or the youngsters or young students talk. That is the first point. So the challenge was that we could easily, let me say, make the very complex fabric of bioeconomy simple, but not too easily simplified so that you neglect scientific robustness. That was really a challenge. And believe me, we had a lot of emails exchanging on the questions of bioplastics, on biodegradability and recyclability, etc., etc. The second point I would say is that the curiosity, which also was a fascinating element then later on when you were transforming these news to younger people. And I would like to finish with an anecdote in this respect. You know, I will have 4 grandchildren, and the youngest one is now 7.5. And she was celebrating her birthday, and she got already a small GSM for kids that exists. And we were talking about a lot of interesting things on her birthday because her father had just purchased an e-mobile the weeks before. So we were talking about electricity and batteries in a car. And I was talking about the fuels for biofuels, also for large vessels. That was a topic in our book. And I remembered that there are algae and there is cooking oil and there might be other very, very interesting stuff for biofuels. And then I took her GSM and said, what is the cask made of? And she said, well, it might be something plastic or so. And I also talked to her and said it could be made of other stuff like cork or algae or fish scales or fish skin. I had one from Iceland. And then my grandchild looked at me and said, grandfather, what you just said, I mean, I would like to have a cask of my GSM which is made of cooking oil. I said, why? Well, you see, when we go and have a barbecue outside, I could take that and, you know, I taught you how to scan, and then I might have the cooking oil on the barbecue and it will work. So I was a little puzzled, you can imagine. But, you know, that's how kids react. Dear friends, the strategies, and we heard about more than 50 regional ones in Europe now and about 20 on nations, will be the backbone of activities together with industry and society. Very wise words have been spoken today. But the soft skills, that's education, management, and also communication become more and more of importance. And therefore, I was delighted to see in the very recent regional strategy of the state of Bavaria, you know, that one of the 50 actions was that in the future, in all the curricula of primary and secondary schools, bioeconomy should be anchored as a subject. That's a very good beginning. And I know that in the Spanish autonomous province of Catalonia, I know that now also in Portugal and in Basque country, there are very, very similar deliberations undertaken. So a very good start now, because the kids' book is really only the beginning. And we will see to what extent this wonderful model might be copied later on other continents. Again, I wish you very, very best for the future of this book. I'm so keen on really forwarding it to a lot of people as well. And again, thank you and happy Easter to all of you.
Thank you, Christian. Happy Easter also to you and your family. And so thank you very much for all your words about the book. It was really an adventure, as I said at the beginning, for all of us. And we hope that it will be really engaging many kids. As I already said, we started these piloting activities in Italy, but also our partners from Transition to Bio will start in a few weeks also in their countries, distributing the book, giving also trainings for the teachers. So we really hope that it will be an activity that will be not only pilot, but especially successful around schools and museums for children in Europe. So, Susanna, do you want to say something? Because we are going to close, but before we would like to involve again all the participants in a few questions on Mentimeter, just 2 questions on Mentimeter, because we really would like to understand and have also some ideas from the participant on how to really exploit and disseminate this book as much as possible. I would like to underline that the different linguistic version, that were translated by the BioVoices partners, can be asked. So you can ask for copies. You can find a form in order to require your copies in the language that you prefer. You find this form in our website. All the useful information about the book will be given both in the BioVoices website, in the page of the book, but also through our social media. You can contact the partners of BioVoices for specific information on the specific language of the book. And so do we want to start with the last 2 questions on Mentimeter? So please, Matteo,
Yes.
and all the participants can go back to their mobile phone. The code is the same. Matteo.
Yes. Yes, can you hear me? Yes, I think. Yes. Yes, thanks a lot, Chiara. We have this final discussion on how to better exploit, promote the book. I saw that many questions came into our chat, live chat in YouTube. But here now, I kindly ask you to go to take your smartphone, to go back to menti.com, and then to put the code 2327810. Yes, there are some first comments arriving. The online version, yes, for sure, there will be an online version in the next months. And yes, we have also making some partnerships with schools. We have a pilot action, no, in Italy in the next months. We have the moment 10 schools with 39 classes, and we'll make some activities with them also for the teachers. Yes, I see social media campaign, press campaigns, private sponsorship. Yes, it could be an idea. Several institutions working with children. Yes, of course. We also started some some dialogue with some children museum. That's a really nice target. This collaborate with all schools via ministries of education, national bioeconomy cluster organization. Yes, also in this we started this. Let's say we had a first talk with, for instance, the national cluster for bioeconomy for the green chemistry in Italy. Yes, I can sum up the various suggestions in activities with schools, partnerships with other institutions such as clusters, such as the museums, and also the online format of the book to make it available to a wider audience. And there are also suggestions about summer camps, new languages, and I would also to highlight again, as Chiara said, that after the meeting, all the material will be available on BioVoices website, in particular in the webpage dedicated to the book. So you'll find the presentations, you'll find the form to request your copy, and you will have also an overview about who are the responsible partners for each language version. So I think we can move to the next slide for the next question. And thanks again for all these insights. So this is additional targets as stakeholders multipliers to be involved in dissemination. In this case, I saw that already. I see that some suggestions already came. For instance, museums, clusters. Someone mentioned also an hub. And just to tell you that we'll use all those suggestions. We'll analyze them after the event, and yes, for sure, we will come up with new ideas and new collaboration. And of course, if you want to establish collaboration with us, please write us. I saw in the YouTube chat that there are some fairs, festival on science that already proposed collaboration. Okay, so just to comment, the first insights arrived. The Montessori schools all over Europe, but in general, I see that schools, municipalities, and local governments, and new funded projects. There is also an interesting comment about the governments of the European member states. That is for sure another important target. For instance, we have the Hungarian translation thanks to the collaboration of the National Ministry for Agriculture, and also because Barna Kovacs, that is the coordinator of the BioEast initiative, was also a member of our scientific committee. And we have business industries. That's another important collaboration. The partnership with publishing houses of school books, okay, and people from arts and influencers. That is another target really relevant nowadays, and we'll work with influencers also in the transition to bio project. Science fairs, we did already a lot of activities, but we hope to have the possibility in the really next future to come back there on site and to engage with the schools, with kids, with families, parents. It was a great experience. We had a large public in Rome with Maker Faire. It was really nice to work with them. Companies that wish to boost their educational activities, okay? Bio apps, that's great. And I think that we have really a lot of material that we can use to be inspired. That's really nice. The supermarket chains in Europe, that is a very, let's say, out of the box comment, since it wasn't really related to the other comments arrived till now. So thank you very much. I think that we can close with this interactive session. So Chiara.
Thank you, Matteo, and would like to thank all the participants. We really received many wonderful ideas on how to distribute the book and really to make this book successful around Europe. We will really try to understand how to find the best path to do it. So before closing it, few remarks from, I don't know, Susanna, do you want to say something before closing? Do you have some voice?
More or less. Anyway, no, I just want to really congratulate everybody and to really thanks everybody, because it was an adventure that started one evening. We can do this, what we can do with the budget left from BioVoices, and I think that we really committed all ourselves, but not only us. I mean, the enthusiastic answer was the great pleasure, and this means that we are in the right path. Now we have to maximize this effort and to make it through transition to bio first, but also through new initiative. We are open to investigating collaboration with companies, with the European Commission, to try to really use this good result and I have to say very high level content that we have. And therefore we need ideas, keep on discussing, because we really need to have a great impact with a very great starting point. So this is my message.
Okay, yes, thank you, Susanna. So I would like to close thanking our special guests today, so Peter Verheim, Luisa Marelli, Maria Teresa Borzacchiello, Nello Emerencia, Christian Paterman. Thank you for your participation, for your contribution. Thank you to all the members of the scientific committee. And I have to thank all the BioVoices partners because they did a great job during the last few months and during the translation. And so a special thanks also to the BioVoices partners. So thank you for this participation, and I hope to see you for the final event of BioVoices on the 22nd of April. So see you soon and stay tuned.